Not tonight, maybe next time. Yeah. Well. If there are any members of the body that will be participating remotely, please state your name and the reason. No, we don't have anybody. So roll call.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
all of our advisors are still trying to get on.
Oh, okay.
Does that hold us up from going forward though? Yeah, I say.
Oh, okay.
I would say go chair.
Okay.
It's 7:10. I don't want to be here forever.
Yeah, and other folks too. I have a text from Jackie Lopez trying to get on as well.
Maybe to refresh or something. Yeah, that's the problem is that people don't know technology, so like you have to close your window and then open a new window. So all they're doing is trying the same window that's probably still. So that's the problem when the link's wrong.
Oh, yeah, she's on now. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead then. Clerk, could you please take roll call?
Committee Member Baines.
Present.
Committee Member Boyd.
Present.
Committee Member Calumet.
Present Kim Callum.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Committee Member Fitzharris.
Here.
Committee Member Jordan.
Here.
Committee Member Lavanino.
Here.
Committee Member Sanchez Turner. Committee Member Snyder. Committee Member Watson. And Chair Correa.
Here. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Public comments are limited to items on the special meeting agenda pursuant to California Government Code Section 54943B. If you wish to make a public comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for the item to be called. Public comments generally are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chair may further limit the time for public comments depending on the agenda schedule. If you wish to make a comment, please fill out a speaker card. If you are attending via Zoom, join the Zoom webinar and use the raise hand, or if joining by telephone, press *9 on your telephone keypad icon. Okay, our next item is advisors' updates and presentation. Have they been able to get in? Yes, yeah, GoBiz is. If we could call on Dana and Brian to give us an update on what they have for us from GoBiz.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now? What about now?
Oh,
Yes.
there you are.
Okay. And Brian is in also. Apologies, we must have used either a different link, but appreciate that we're able to connect with you today. Brian F, not Brian C, but Brian F, do you have are you sharing the slide deck?
It's in the packet. You have it, Dana?
Yeah, it'll be just a second. Stand by. So, hold on. It's taking a second to load. Okay, let me get this going. Okay, so Brian was at the recent RCRC conference, and ahead of that, of the RCRC conference was a session that they called an economic forum, and I provided just a really brief overview. So I'm going to use that slide deck from that presentation. Can you see that? Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a real brief overview that we provided, and I think you have seen, many of you on this call have previously seen this. Whoops. But just as a reminder of the GoBiz team and all of the units that GoBiz has. Some of you may not be as familiar with our team as others, but just as a reminder, we have our business investment services team
Okay, thanks.
that is focused on helping provide site selection assistance, as well as navigating our incentives and grant opportunities and tax credit programs for companies that are looking to either locate in California or expand their operations in California. You're familiar with the community place-based solutions team. That's the unit that Brian Coleman and I are on. Let me just go back for a second. Business investment services, you have a regional business development specialist in Tony Gomez. Some of you may have met Tony. She has been very visible and active in the region, and she covers both the Central Coast and the Bay Area. So you met Tony, you know Brian. We also have a permits unit that divides the state into two regions, North and South, and they are in place to help companies and or communities navigate regulatory agency permitting issues, whether at the local, regional, and even state and federal levels. So they are a great asset, and they are able to provide assistance as needed. We have our Cal OSBA, our small business unit, that I think many of you hopefully have engaged with also. That Cal OSBA unit is really in place to help, as the name suggests, small business opportunities. Everything from drought recovery to flood recovery to tech hub issues. So if you are not familiar with Cal OSBA, I would highly encourage you to track and consider following that Cal OSBA. They also have a regional contacts that work locally to provide assistance with our small businesses, of which many are there in the San Juan Bautista area. We also have an international affairs team. They focus on assisting companies who are looking to invest in California, what we call foreign direct investment. And they represent us internationally. In fact, just before coming in here, I was with a couple of our colleagues. Brian Coleman has been with them this week also. They were doing a tour of the southern part of the Central Coast, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo region. We also have our ZEV unit, and as you are looking to consider infrastructure needs, it's our ZEV unit that is really focused on the zero emission vehicle, the charging stations, and as well as providing some funding and potential grant opportunities for infrastructure. This unit is also one of the leads for us in the clean energy transition, and in particular focus on hydrogen, development of hydrogen energy. So this is coming out of our ZEV unit. Then we also do have an energy unit that is focused on energy sources and supplies. Just as an FYI for you all, this is the unit that is really interfacing with our investor-owned utilities to try and find some solutions for getting access to an energy supply sooner rather than later. So we have on a list, a growing list of needs. We have shared this with our energy unit. We also have our iBank. This is our small business loan guarantee program and some invest and financing opportunities. We also have the Film Commission, and we also have our Visit California, our Travel and Tourism Commission that falls under GoBiz. And just recently, Visit California launched their regional tourism strategies. And I think some of you may be tracking that program. Some of you have been introduced to the JLL team that is helping Visit California implement this program. There is a broader Central Coast region that your San Juan Bautista is a part of. And so it's a very exciting opportunity to really engage with this Visit California program. And like I said, we've made some introductions to the JLL team that is overseeing that. You know that we've got our economic regions. You all are a part of that really pretty pink region there that's called Central Coast. That consists of 6 counties that run from Santa Cruz, San Benito, Monterey, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. So that's the region that you all are part of. And then we did spend a little bit of time at the RCRC conference talking about the what we're calling our Catalyst 2.0. But before we go into that, I just want to make sure that everybody has heard, and if you haven't, you'll hear it first tonight, that the program that we formally called or previously called the Community Economic Resilience Fund, or what we know as SURF, now has a new name. That new name is called California Jobs First. It was announced last week at the California Forward Economic Summit that was held in the desert. There will be a logo, there will be some messaging to go along with that will be forthcoming in the next few weeks and months. But the name was announced last week and really represents the priorities of the state and the administration around job creation, as well as a focus on our transition for a cleaner environment and climate adaptation, as well as the equity piece that goes in hand with that program formerly known as SURF. So within that, what we now call California Jobs First, there is this program that was launched that is right now in the middle of being an application period. This is the Catalyst 2.0. Each of the 13 regions are able to apply to receive up to $14 million per region to basically help bridge some funding gaps that exist for some specific areas. In the Catalyst 2.0, there's going to be an added $2 million to help extend the regional planning process that you all have been a part of. There's also a 1.5 million that is intended to help these regions retain the services of what we're calling sector investment coordinators. As you all know, through what was formerly known as SURF, there are elements to the regional strategy being developed that includes the identification of industry clusters and industry sectors. But at the same time, if you're pursuing and if identified and are pursuing some key industries, you're going to want to understand what those industry needs are in order to advance and grow in the region. So these sector investment coordinators are intended to help do some research and an understanding of what kind of, if you will, environment. And when I say environment, think about ecosystem, think about landscape that some of these new industries are going to be seeking. Then there's also up to $9 million for the project pre-development activities. This is all around planning, feasibility, acquisitions, environmental review process for projects that are intended to potentially be funded in the future. Reminding ourselves that our focus is not just on what was the SURF implementation funding, but really to prepare the regions to have projects in the queue ready to go for the other funding that is becoming available through the federal government, through the IIJA, through the IRA, through the bipartisan investment, through the CHIPS Act. There's significant funding that it's going to be on its way, but we got to have the projects ready to go and in the queue. You're going to hear this term used over and over again, but it's about preparing and having ready to go investable communities, meaning communities that have identified what their priorities are, what their needs are, so that as these funding opportunities mature and become available, communities are ready to pursue. So that's what this project pre-development is intended to be. And then in the end, there's also an additional 1.5 million per region to assist with the overall grant administration for the fiscal agent of these regional efforts. So that is an application period that is now open, with applications due November 30th by the fiscal agent. All of the regions have been going through the process of preparing their application. It's simple. It's intended to tell us what the region is going to do with this funding, just provide an outline for it. That's underway right now. So I know that your region is in the process of developing its application for the Catalyst funding. When we start to think about some of the activities that have been recently completed with what was called SURF, now called California Jobs First, you'll notice that there's a couple of activities that have completed. We have a tribal intermediary application that closed in September. Scoring has been underway, and we hope to have an announcement very soon as to who the tribal intermediary is going to be. That is intended to help administer the $25 million that are in the program for tribal communities to access for their project needs. There's also the EDP contracts. If you remember, there was about $39 million that were awarded to a variety of projects around the state as pilot projects. Those contracts are in the process of being issued and executed, and those projects are getting ready to hit the ground here soon. I mentioned the Catalyst application, but probably the big one to remind ourselves of, August 31st, we had the planning phase regional plan part 1 that was due, and that was really a kind of a progress report. December 31st is the deadline for the final regional plan part 1 to be delivered. That's rapidly coming up. We looked at the calendar the other day, and we're about 6-7 weeks out. That's going to happen very, very quickly. So I know that your region is going through a lot of work to finalize that plan, but wanting to just remind you that where you see opportunities to engage and to attend regional meetings, I'd highly encourage you to do it, because the plan is still being developed. And then as we get into 2024, we are going to start to see a significant amount of activity. We've got the tribal planning funding that will become available in the spring. In May, the Catalyst Awards will be announced and contracts to be executed. And then June is when the final regional strategies are due. That's what we've all been working towards, is that final strategy. But that's not when the program ends, because as we just announced, Catalyst is intended to fund ongoing those regional collaborative meetings and those regional collaborative efforts. So it doesn't stop in June when that strategy is delivered, but rather I think that's when the real work begins, because now we start to move into some implementation modes and some who's going to do what to implement the recommendations that are coming out of the strategies to be delivered in June. So while the plan will be delivered, there's still going to be work to be done. And then finally, I just shared what my contact information is. If you had any questions, we were certainly happy to answer those. As we've noted previously, Brian is your contact for the Central Coast region. So he's covering the region. I know you see him at various sessions throughout. He is also the liaison between GoBiz and the regional convener. And as a reminder, in your case, you have co-conveners between MBEP and Reach here in the San Luis Obispo County area, and then the Ventura EDC covering the southern part of the region. So that's kind of just a recap of GoBiz, and very specifically the program formerly known as SURF, now known as California Jobs First. And we're going to continue to work on the logo, work on messaging, and we hope to have more information for you all to tap into with the new name and logo later on this fall, and right after the first of the year.
Dan, I have a question.
Mhm.
How is the SEDS being incorporated into the regional plan?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because Brian has actually had to review the what came in from the Central Coast. I'm going to let Brian respond to that, but I can just share that throughout the California, in many cases, SEDS has served as a foundational document for regions around the state. But Brian can speak very specifically to how the newly completed SEDS, both in San Benito County, as well as down in the Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo County, they did a 2-county SEDS. Brian can speak to how those were specifically integrated.
Yeah, that's important to us, because that's where our local priorities are elaborated.
Yeah, thanks, Dana, for that wonderful overview of our office and our team. So to answer your question, Brian, so I can confirm that the Uplift Coalition, which is the entity facilitating the program formerly known as SURF, they're facilitating the planning phase. As part of their data and research analysis of economic needs in the region, they are reviewing all of the SEDS and regional plans from the various counties and municipalities throughout the Central Coast. Off the top of my head, I cannot confirm if they've specifically reviewed the San Benito County SEDS, since it's a relatively new document. I don't know if they've reviewed it yet, but they do intend on, as part of their ongoing research and analysis to inform the regional roadmap. They are actively reviewing all the economic development strategies and planning documents from across the region and each of the sub-regions. So San Benito County would be included in that. I would assume that the Uplift Coalition has reviewed the most current SEDS document that San Benito County produced, only because there are several stakeholders from San Benito County who are part of the sub-regional steering committees that are informing the planning process for the Uplift Coalition. I know, for example, Christina Y. Chavez with the San Benito County Business Council sits on one of those sub-regional steering committees, and I'm sure she is informing the Uplift Coalition on what economic development strategies and planning documents from the San Benito County region to review. So definitely all those strategies and reports will be incorporated into the final roadmap for the Central Coast.
Thank you,
Good
Dana
question.
and Brian. Are there any questions?
I have one, Fran Fitzharris. For Dana, a couple of slides back, I just was curious about, you listed out Film Commission. I wanted to hear a little bit more about that, what that was, what it entails.
California has a film commission that works collaboratively with many of the large production houses and studios in the state of California to, number one, make sure that they have access to and understand how to access any tax credits for filming in California and production that is based in California. So they oversee the tax credit program. that it helps retain filming in this region. The Film Commission also hosts I think on an annual basis a kind of a site or a kind of a site location forum for community regions and communities who have an interest in appealing to be site locations for films, to showcase their assets, to showcase their whether they're a great spot for commercial filming, or whether they're a great spot for a film or for a series. And so they host that as a means of being able to showcase a particular region. In many cases, the California Film Commission works collaboratively with either the county, if the county has its own film commissioner, or in many cases, there are cities who have their own film commissioner. And they sometimes, in many cases, send leads. A production company will reach out to the Film Commission with a need, and then the Film Commission will distribute that to those communities that have, expressed an interest. So if you are interested in getting into that business, we can certainly help make a connection for you so that you can, understand what the process is and become familiar with how production companies go about their site selection.
Okay, thank you. I think right now what happens is they will contact the city or contact one of the venues here, and that's kind of how we discover that they want to come and film. But we also host in April, we host the Poppy Jasper International Film Festival here. Going to go on 3 years doing that. And so I just was curious about the connection there. Thank you.
Yeah. I think in many cases, as you mentioned, they go to the city because they have to have permits issued. And it's the city that has the regulatory authority to issue those permits. But it's also the Film Commission that kind of keeps tabs on potential sites. So if that's of interest, the Film Commission isn't necessarily directly engaged in things like film festivals or hosting things like that. They are about the making sure that producers and productions have access to the incentives to stay in California, to keep their productions, their filming, all of that, to keep that in California, as opposed to going to Canada or to Georgia or some of these other states that go after the filming.
Thank you. Yeah, we as I mentioned, we host a film festival, and we have directors from over 40 countries that come here, and it's actually really exciting. As they're visiting us, they want to film in our town. So just looking for how to connect and help them.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I'm on that note, I would presume that somebody there has developed an asset library that includes photos of potential sites, whether it's open fields, natural resources, historic buildings. First and foremost would be an asset library. If you haven't already developed one, that would be a great place to start.
Yeah, there are, and they're not formal, but they're just enthusiasts. We have someone who's done a reel of all the films that have been made here in Juan Bautista. So sounds like something for us to look into. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we're happy to make that connection, because what would be really handy is that if you developed a local playbook that for a site company that is looking to bring a production to the community, you'd start with, here are the permits that are required. Here is the list of the assets and library that showcases what assets you do have, easy access, all the, if you will, services that a production needs, to include a list of your catering companies, to include a list of whether you have equipment companies rental companies that are in place. All of those factors go into a filming playbook. So we'd be happy to connect you with the commission so that you could maybe model after another region, or, you know, get a sense of what those production companies are looking for. Because this is all pre-work. You know, somebody says we want to film, but we're looking for this. Well, you want to make sure that you've got images and access to what you all have as to meet the needs and demands of the production itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for letting me sidetrack a little bit, because I think it's a really untapped area that I would like to grow as the event manager for the film festival here.
Thanks again, Dana. Are there any comments from the chambers or Zoom? Questions? None. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, did want to mention that I will be sharing some links to some funding opportunities with Brian F. One in particular that I think is particularly relevant for San Juan Bautista and San Benito County. Our sister agency that Dana referenced, the Office of the Small Business Advocate, they are currently accepting applications for a grant program called the California Small Agricultural Business Drought and Flood Relief Grant Program. This provides funding ranging from $20,000 to $100,000 to agricultural producers who experience a revenue or profit loss due to the recent floods and drought. So I will go ahead and share that information with Brian, because I think that's a really good opportunity for businesses in your area to take advantage of. And then just one little brief additional brief announcement. The Uplift Coalition, I will share this update on their behalf. They recently launched their public website. And so all their future public convenings, their calendar, and links and contact information to connect with them is all listed on that website. So I'll go ahead and share that with Brian as well, so he can just distribute it to all of you. So I think that's all the updates I have from GoBiz and Uplift Coalition. So thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we're going to excuse ourselves, if that's okay. If any questions come up during the meeting, Brian F. can follow up with us, and we're happy to provide responses and or answers, but we will excuse ourselves.
Brian, if I can just ask, repeat what the name of that was.
I'm very sorry, you're breaking off.
Can you please tell me one more time the name of the grant that you just mentioned?
Yeah, it's a pretty long title. It's the California Small Agricultural Business Drought and Flood Relief Grant Program. I think I nailed it. It's under our Office of the Small Business Advocate. And so our sister agency here at GoBiz. But yeah, I'll definitely share that the link to the website, which also includes links to the application. It looks like a very simple application for agricultural businesses to utilize. So definitely think it would be a valuable resource for your region in particular.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll
No
make sure to
worries.
share the link. as usual.
Perfect.
Thank you again.
All righty. Have a good evening, everyone.
You as well. Okay, we're moving along to the consent items. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. Would any member of the committee wish to pull an item for separate vote, separate discussion? Would any member of the public, Zoom or chambers, wish to pull an item for separate vote, separate discussion?
Are those tabled?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are being tabled.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, then we need to move along to approve the minutes of the July 19, 2023 and August 30th, 2023 meetings. Oh, those are the ones table. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, action items. EDCAC reorganization. So first up is to receive the report from Brian.
So I did get notes from the committee. That would be Helena, Darlene, and Liz. Provided, I think Helena did not provide notes, but Darlene and Liz did. Oh, yeah. So in any case, were you on that committee also, Teresa? No, just those three. Okay. So probably would be a good idea to have you summarize the notes that we received. If you can do that. They're in the packet. Yeah, wait. Yeah, just to cover what's in the packet, actually. There is information from the RCRC forum that Darlene attended on behalf of the EDCAC. And then also there's information in the packet about strategic planning. So the city's previous strategic plan, we'll get into that later on in the agenda. But that information is there. And then immediately after that information are the notes. And they are way in the back at the end of the agenda packet. And they look like this.
Okay, then I found it.
Yeah.
Moving from subcommittees to task force model. Are the notes that we
Yeah.
have.
And I'd just like to say that I think this is a good approach with respect to the task forces. It's what the EDCAC wanted to do. You don't have minutes reflecting that, but that was your decision to move in that direction and to establish an ad hoc committee to review that idea. One of the things that comes to mind in terms of the overall discussion about reorganization is that with respect to task forces, is that we've heard a lot recently about the need to retain businesses and to not necessarily to attract new businesses. We do have some vacancy issues downtown, but we also need to make sure that we have a good business retention program. And there are a number of resources that you've heard from our advisors. Cal OSVA, for example, offers a lot of resources. There's also the Small Business Development Center, which is in the Central Coast offices in Salinas, and they're available to come in to San Juan Bautista and assist businesses one-on-one. And so that's a tremendous resource. Also, then of course, there's all the stuff that's available, resources within GoBiz. So what that, in order to access these programs, our organizational structure might look to how best to organize access to those resources in a more structured way. So that we put out the information, we depend on the individual businesses to access those resources, but maybe the committee could organize a way so that access to those resources is more apparent or more available. So anyway, just a thought, based on what we've been hearing about the EDCAC and the need to, and the list of resources is the Cal OSBA, SBDC, GoBiz. There's a workforce board. There's a Main Street program, which the city council did not go for last night, but there could be easily a proxy Main Street program developed locally. And then there's a lot of potential for an economic development collaborative through the structure that we have. So there's just some thoughts that I have.
Okay, thank you. So you want me to speak to this then?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we met as a subcommittee and set up a task force model because it seemed that we all wanted to move forward with tasks that we wanted to get done. So we can establish near-term and long-term priorities, which would put on a chart and of what we want to focus on. We can determine what we want to focus on, put these priorities into an appropriate vertical for each effort. That you can assign somebody who is a lead, who can begin to build out the strategy, deliverables, and find volunteers to support the effort. That does mean the volunteers have to all come from this committee. They can be outside of this committee. And each year evaluate these priorities and weighing our accomplishments and headwinds as to what's working and what's not working. So we kind of have like three silos here. We have the San Juan Bautista Engagement Task Force that looks at regional event calendars, community recreation event calendar, a holiday events calendar, social media strategy and training for both the city of San Juan Bautista and small businesses. Then we had a tourism task force that starts with San Juan Bautista, and we go outside of San Juan Bautista because we're in the middle of such a great area for tourism. There's Pinnacles tours, wine tours, various tours inside San Juan Bautista, the state park, Catholic retreat, historical walking tour, running tour. I might also mention that we have a national trail just outside of San Juan Bautista, the Bautista Trail. Deanza Trail, thank you. And we also have lots of state parks around here that I have been looking at. County Engagement Task Force has to do with looking at grants to support the task forces. That is like Uplist, iHub, etc. Building technical computer capabilities to support city and small businesses. That's like a CRM where it can be either local or county-wide. Technical infrastructure, leveraging existing infrastructure from county and other cities. I do believe the county is kind of working on a CRM right now because I've heard that mentioned at some of the meetings that I attend. Then there's artificial intelligence thread, IoT, which has to do with taxes, strategy and training for city and small business owners. And that is attracting realtors, investors, business partners to our city so that we can grow more in the area of business. Okay. So an operating framework to drive these actions and policies. We're going to propose an approach to get the conversation started, build Word documents for volunteers to use to identify milestone activities and commemorative activities. And typically these include brief overview of the project, the event, the activity, look at the scope and character of the document. Should it detail key stakeholders? SWOT strategy and actions, explain staffing and funding ideas. Then a formal document to be submitted to the city for either policy decision, policy guidance, or funding request. Any of those three. And then a monthly update document to submit to EDCAC for city and city council consumption so that they know what we're doing on an ongoing basis. An update document which details progress over time. It captures meetings, emails, etc. So there is a chronological trail of efforts and accomplishments for all of this. Okay. There were suggestions on the next pages for how to do this. Economic development is the creation of wealth through which community benefits are realized. And it's better to be proactive than reactive to change, as it is here, whether we like it or not. That is changes. And we're doing this for the children. And this came from our talk with trying to remember, she's the president of CalEd. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Expect further member input and revisions. We expect that. We postpone or work current suggestions for redesign into ongoing training or reconsider it if it's redundant and unnecessary. And suggest creation of several ad hoc task force committees so that they have specific tasks focused upon chosen goals, objectives to complete. Some for immediate tasks to address, others for research and advice for city council, and others for designing components of future strategies. And then we can continue expert consultants and training sessions for EDAC to know what they need to know to make informed choices. And that's reviewing possible update, our shared mission and vision statements. What are the concrete outcomes we want? What does success look like? Defining all this. And slide number 9 was EDAC committee roles needs further strategizing by the committee for more concrete goals and objectives. So immediate needs suggest task forces to accomplish, differentiate the name that is Citizens Advisory Committee for Economic Development, because there are so many task forces and things in our county already that start with ED. So, turning that around, I thought maybe we could turn it around so that we would stand out a little more, be a little more differentiated. Street garbage containers, the clean streets, sidewalks, sign ordinance updates to restrictive needs input from businesses. Fix the community center acoustics. I believe that's in the works. Yeah, and need more space because we need more space now. Clear the policies for advertising events so that we have a set thing as how, what is it we need to do for advertising? Let's have a list, to check it off. Immediately address the downtown blight and vacancies appropriately as soon as possible. Bring consultant to inform us how to do that. Okay. John and I have done some research on this already and have some ideas. And I also talked to Stacy when she was here about this a little bit. Perhaps San Juan Bautista High School could assist with finding appropriate historic preservation grants. Lots of them are out there. Mitigate parking issues with owners of private parking lots, because I know we have a couple of them in town that keep them closed up. Install more EV charging stations. These come through 3 CE grants. Okay. And immediately update permitting processes through the analysis of business processes to suggest software to do the bulk of the manual input, particularly for streamlining permitting processes. And it helps the staff to have the capacity to do other important work, such as that they need to do. And I know you need to do a lot. Dina Snyder can also do an analysis of this. She's worked with this kind of thing a lot and make recommendations. There are free project management templates in Excel. We listed some sites you can go to there to take a look at those. There's free project management templates in Google Docs, which is another way. We can do parallel tasks. create a strategy and goals through a market study and Main Street processes. Okay. That was something we were going to ask Main Street to do, but we'll have to figure out maybe some other venue. Or maybe just have them do a specialty on this. What are second and third tier supports? Where are our opportunities? The possible annexation of properties to build out land use to attract determined desired businesses for sustainable commercial industrial base, etc. Survey current businesses which are not represented by San Juan Bautista Business Association or the new Spirit of San Juan Bautista. Thank you, SSJB. Okay, to find out what they would like to improve or how they would like to be involved. Need to attract desired companies to employ residents and create sustainable economic foundation. Need to have more control of our future changes through active participation with the region. And then we have youth involvement empowerment. I have a couple of websites there for that kind of thing, because it would be nice to get more of our youth involved with our city. Then there was a CalEd presentation note to members who are more engaged on how to make things work. This was at the 9/30/2023 meeting I attended. Evidence of more actual analysis and synthesis. Notice complement of each other's efforts. Increase of a sense of valuable learning processes to open understanding of why and how things must be done. And suggest more EDCAC meetings as actual trainings for near and far future to build a critical mass of knowledge, to make informed choices, like a Main Street strategy building plus consultants to address specific issues. That might be one particular thing we would like to have them help us with. Suggest a PIO to address the community, a public information officer, as to what city staff actually does to be able to handle city business and support documented city planning decisions. And there's a recent sample of uninformed citizen reactions from Facebook. Response. Like, it was so wonderful in the 70s when everyone volunteered and we did not have as many city staff members. Everyone just volunteered. That was a reaction that we picked up. In the 70s, this community was much smaller. Got to remember that the population was only about 1,300 at that time. How does this mindset address the future for our families? Silicon Valley recently discovered San Benito County and it's attracting developers. San Juan Bautista has undergone several changes of morphing through several decades that is ignored. Currently, many more state and federal mandates that require more staffing, that is safe drinking water, housing elements, regional wastewater facilities, Caltrans building wider freeways, climate change mitigation, upgrading farm roads for more residents, waste disposal upgrades, need for local well-functioning hospital, etc. These are all challenges that we're facing in this county. San Juan Bautista residents' desire for more services, that is community recreation, which means more staffing, freelance, grant writer, and a series of consultants, etc. And need to have a more desirable sphere of influence than current Urban Boundary Committee recommends. Does not allow enough potential land for future commercial industrial development. And that means sustainable tax and employment foundation. And things like that. So we have attached the San Juan Bautista Task Force model. It's a simplified project template here that you should have in your packet. To do, in progress, in review, completed. And it just kind of gives you a sample of things that you can, with a interjected sample there. So to give you an idea of what you need to do. So that is kind of what we came up with. Yes, that is the sample.
Sample of what a task force.
A task, yes, task force model. Yeah, simplified project template. So if you're picking a certain project, you put the project name up there and what you're going to do, what's in progress, what's in review, and what's completed. Okay, so you can see what it is. You know, we're getting down to, you know, the nitty gritty of how do we do this. So we included this template. This is one way you can check your progress. Okay, and
Charlene,
you're welcome.
do we have any committee member questions, comments?
I do. Actually, after listening to everything, this is probably the best part that I appreciate because it's about accountability
Mhm.
and follow up. You know, the only thing is like everything that I read. So this group was tasked to go and set our priorities, right?
Mhm.
And I still feel like everything that was listed has been things that I've seen on the priorities of several other groups, several other committees, several other ad hoc groups that have come together. And I still come back to where we were. So first I want to say, I want to applaud the rec group because I really think out of all the groups, we're like almost going to be 2 years now, 2 years. So the rec group is the one group that has come out and went out, did what they need to do, had surveys with the community, came up with needs, and now we have a position that was hired, Caitlin, and actually I met her father and spoke to her father recently, and so she's really excited about the opportunity that she's been given. So I think that that's our success, but we really fell short when it came to the businesses. What we were supposed to do for the businesses is really basic. And then the outreach group, that was also really basic, and we failed there as well, in my opinion. Is the outreach was supposed to go out and meet with all the different organizations, all the groups, and find out what is everybody doing? What are you focused on? What is your priority? So that way the intent is that we didn't want to recreate their wheel, right? We don't have a lot of time. We're all very busy individuals, at least I am. And so we wanted to go out and find out what these people are, not take away their responsibility, but see how we can help them. So the outreach, we did not do a good job there. And on the business side, we were supposed to go out and review what it was like to be a business here and the process all the way through the city. And I'm sitting here and I'm a member of this group, and my business couldn't survive here. And I'm a member of this group, so I did everything I could to keep my business here. But there are a lot of steps in the process. Everything what I continue to say about everything from going over to that window and starting from day one, I want to be a business here. And there's a lot of broken pieces there, and no one still has gone to evaluate that, right? And so, and it's not anyone's fault. It's difficult. We have a lot to clean up, and that's what I keep saying. Let's clean up our home, and then we can look at other things. But no one's bothered to do that. That's why businesses leave. We finally got, when you want to renew your business license, that's easier now than it has ever been. So thank you for that. But there's going to be things like that, but no one's evaluated that for the businesses. I've heard that we want to go out and help businesses. I've heard from several people, the liaison to the San Juan Bautista Business Association, the new one. We're going to teach businesses how to do social media and how to advertise themselves. Like, there's all really great things, but we're not doing that. And so I feel like there's so many steps that we just want to throw to the side. They're very critical. And that is, again, going out and looking what everyone else is doing and not trying to recreate it? How do you help it? How do you improve it? Because those people have worked really hard to put together what they've put together, right? A lot of work, a lot of effort. And let's see how we can help them make it better. Because when I look at what you wrote out, Darlene, and what you explained, we're never going to get anywhere. That's so much. There's so much there. How are we going to get to anywhere and get anything done? You talk about the historic trail. We have the trail with the map that takes everything through. So why isn't that working, or what would we need to do better about that? Let's review that. I talked about the process of getting here, the process to expand. So again, my business after COVID, I tried to expand and make my business grow here and be in a big area. But it took 8 months to get the answer that I needed to get an ADA restroom, and I lost out on $8,000. So let's go down and let's look at those things. And then you talk about training. The training, there's back of house training, right? There's training that we need to do here. There's front of house training. And then there's the end user. Who's our
I'm
end
not
user?
saying to do all these things.
I know,
I'm saying
no,
we're choosing as a group.
Darlene, excuse me, but I'm just saying that when you come out and you have a big old, everybody, I'm going to tell you this, I'm like, we're never going to get anywhere. I've always said, as this group is here, this was a really great group, but we couldn't get around ourselves to get the basic things done. And that's why we're here today. We didn't get it done. Thank you, recreational group. You were the success of this story for us, for this group. But I still stand by the fact that it's time for us to let this group move on to somebody else. We have our success, but we're not going to get anywhere because we are still dancing around the same circles. There's a lot of things here, and I'm trying to be respectful of everyone, but I don't think we're all over the place. We still can't get down to the basics. So,
well, this was designed to be task force. We can design those task forces ourselves. We're the ones that get to choose what the tasks are that we want to do and design the task forces for those tasks.
We started that 2 years ago. We didn't get anywhere.
Well, that doesn't mean we can't try again.
Just a minute. I noticed Rachel Ponce's been patiently waiting. Could we go ahead and allow her to talk? And then Helena was right after her.
Thank you for recognizing me, but I am just an observer. I don't have any comments. I'm very interested in what all of you are doing, and thank you for working so hard at it, but I'm just an observer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Helena.
Yes, I apologize. I had some technical difficulties getting into the group tonight, but I wanted to say that, and I missed a little bit of it, but I heard about the task force. If we can rally and be able to actually have actionable items that we can work on, rather just being a informative arm, that would be great. I feel like if there's anybody in the group that feels like things aren't working, that if they leave, then that's going to be on them. It's not something that we dismantle the group or dismantle or get a new group in here, because the people who are here that want to be here can work on whatever actionable items that we deem necessary. And anybody else who doesn't want to work, then, farewell and wish you the best. But we have a lot of people in the group that still have positive outlook on what can and will be done for our community. We're all just a piece of the puzzle that ties this community together, whether you're a business owner or a community activist, or you just want to make a difference in what we're doing. But there's enough energy and positive energy that's willing to work towards those goals. And I think we should do that.
Thank you. Teresa?
I'm not sure what I really want to say. I had it earlier. What I'm seeing is we've got these task force and I think we were moving towards these task force so that we didn't have to deal with the Brown Act. However, whatever we do as a group, we will continue to be under the Brown Act. And I know you want to float back and forth, and because you've got so much going on, I almost think that if we restructure to a group that's not under the Brown Act, a group that, because we've got, you know, 3rd Street Master Plan coming up, we've got all these different things coming up. How could we restructure that we bring everybody in? And this is going to be part of my little report from the Rural Exchange Group. They had everything under one umbrella. They had, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, they had the Business Association, they had everything as an alliance. And so how could we all come together as maybe an alliance and not have this Brown Act, you know, restrictions? I don't, you know, and continue to have this information from CalEd and from GoBiz and all, I mean, because this is really good information that we're getting from them. And I'm not sure how that works. Do we be ambassadors for the community or? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can help a little bit because I'm currently taking the Keys course at from CalEd, which is a week-long, everyday training on all things economic development. There are interestingly in that all of those classes, the model that's very typical, and this is a very unusual model that we have here in San Juan Bautista. It's unlike anything anybody else does that is participating in these classes as instructors. They have economic, and now there may be just a few people in these departments, but they are agencies that work with the community to establish an economic development program, do the outreach, do the programming, you know, cycle through the funding that's available or the programs that are going to best fit the local circumstance. But they don't have a committee, a citizens committee invested the way that we do. Now the reason that this committee exists in the very beginning is because it was felt that the community needed a firm sort of voice with the city council to represent economic development interests in the town. That particular voice needed to be structured and organized so that there could be a coherent message to the council regarding programs. I think that, just my opinion, that the Community Relations and Resources Subcommittee did an amazing job. The other two committees couldn't quite get it together. That doesn't mean that those subject matters are irrelevant to important economic development initiatives. For example, business retention and expansion is a key component of almost every single economic development program in the state. Access to and outreach to what's offered through state agencies is also very typical. Almost every organization has firm liaison to those funding resources that are brought back to the local level. So if you could look at what's typical for economic development programs and understand that every single place defines what their needs are differently, it's possible to do what Teresa's suggesting, but it also involves some centralization within City Hall regarding an economic development program that would operate to organize those interests and then represent those faithfully to the City Council. and then the thing that you described, which is alliances around key economic development initiatives, business retention, outreach to organizations, support for community wellness, and those kinds of things are all, definitely workable economic development, sort of things. Anyway.
Thank you. Any more comments, questions?
I do, please, thank you. If we restructure this, do we have to go before the council before any of this occurs?
I think so. The Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee was established, and it has, it has some great stuff that it's supposed to do, and that was all adopted by the city council. It's what you would want to do even if you didn't have an organization. So, but again, that you would want to, I don't know, you could leave it there, and maybe at some point in the future reconstitute it. I think you would need to have a report to the city council recommending that you're going to take a hiatus at the very least. And that way, everybody can be on the same page. I think that's it. That would be important. Did that answer that? In other words, you could not necessarily disband the committee. You could structure it any way you wanted. Really, it's up to you. So you could either carry on, kind of take a hiatus, tell the city council you want to do things differently, describe what that means, and then move on.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, Helena has her hand raised.
Yes, I disagree with you, Brian, as it relates to the Business Retention and Development Committee. We did what we were tasked to do, which was to come up with recommendations to the city council, which we did come up with. So for you to feel or to even comment that it wasn't a success or we had a problem getting our act together, I think is a misstatement, because we did exactly what we were told or requested to do, which was to do the recommendations. And that recommendation did go forth and was submitted to the city council per our identified areas of a process.
Yeah. So all I meant, Helena, was that with respect to the recommendations, the follow through with respect to discrete programs that would provide resources, real resources to businesses, that did not occur following your recommendations. So that's all. On the other hand, looking at community relations and resources, the follow through was that a staff person was hired and programs will be developed. So it's kind of like, well, business retention and development would, for example, based on your recommendation, city council, structure some visits by the Small Business Development Center, for example, and then set up some things that would actually help businesses accomplish something and be more successful. Social media training, for example, that kind of thing. So that's all I'm saying, is that the next step didn't quite get there. That's all.
Well, we did not have that. First of all, we're not actionable, and we weren't actionable. Our things stopped with the recommendation, which we did, and then we moved into other areas, and that was supposed to be dealt with the city council to act upon. It wasn't for our committee to act upon. Now, the business association did act upon that, but that's a outside entity. It was not something that was supposed to be acted upon through this particular subcommittee. That was never a part of our action plan, because once again, we were told we could not act upon it and that we needed to stay in our lane. And we were
Helena, excuse me, I don't think we need to be arguing about this or discussing this.
It's not an argument. I'm stating a point that we're not actionable, and we wanted to be actionable, and that's why we were talking about the task force. It's not an argument.
Well, I'm just saying you made a point, you made the point that you made recommendations to the city council. I think we can let it be. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that's the reason why we don't get a lot of things done here is because people aren't on the same page. We aren't focused on the bigger picture. And we're
I
not
don't,
dealing
I
with
don't
the
agree.
basics.
I do not
That's
agree.
fine. That's fine.
I think what we need to do is decide if we're going to be a task force so we can do actionable items so we can accomplish things. As just an informative entity, we can only inform or make recommendation that needs to be dealt with from our city council standpoint. And if we want to move to where we can actually act and move through things, that's where the real work begins. And if we decide to do that, that probably will come through the task force.
Right, and I agree with that completely, and I especially would like to get out under the Brown Act. I think that that's of anything, that's what's tying our hands more than anything. So anyway. There's another hand raised.
Before we would begin, Helena is participating as a committee member, and she needs to disclose the reason why she's participating via Zoom.
And the committee needs to agree that she can participate remotely.
I was just recently in a car accident and I'm taking the week off in order to recoup myself.
That's it. The committee doesn't need to agree unless there was under other circumstances, but under this, she's allowed. So.
Thank you.
You're unmuted and you have 3 minutes.
Are you talking to me or someone else?
No, it's somebody else.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
You can hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it's a little distracting. It seems like my audio isn't going through, but this is good evening, group. I'm a guest tonight. This is Jackie Morse Lopez, council member, and I'm just observing and listening. And I think anything that constitutes a change in your function or your goals or your recommendations or your restructuring, mainly what I'm hearing seems to me like it should come before the city council, since there was a resolution before my time that was approved of and voted on to constitute this group. So I'm pretty sure that you're all aware that you're tied to the council, you're an advisory group, you're a citizens advisory group. So I'm wondering that perhaps Brian can weigh in on that, that would be, you're at the pleasure to serve per the city council. And that would be a majority vote, whether we would agree to your restructuring and any of the things that I hear tonight, and even as to disbandment of your group. Is that correct, Brian?
I think so. Yeah, that's true. And there are any number of ways that can be done also, subject to city council approval.
Okay. May I go? Okay. Yeah. Oh, so I just, like to share my biggest concerns and what I feel needs to get attention especially if I'm going to continue on to be a member. And that is that we need to care about and respond to why members leave this ad hoc committee, number one. We also need to care and respond to why businesses leave San Juan Bautista. We need to review the experience that a business has that comes in here and says, I want to do business here in San Juan Bautista. We need to review that process. And last, we need to understand what each of the groups, committees, nonprofits that are tied into us here, what everybody is doing, have a good understanding, a solid understanding, so we can see how we're going to complement, support, and get things done. Because recreating the wheel, I've been part of the process now several times, and it's so tiring. I am minutes away from not wanting to be a volunteer anymore because of all that's gone on. So that's really basic for me, what I just listed out for you. And I really hope that people are listening, because that's something that we can achieve. So thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Jackie, did you desire to speak again?
I'm sorry, I had my hand up. I'm just already, I'll put it down. I just wanted to interject with that comment in regards to the reconstitution or restructuring, and just kind of putting it in focus that would, I believe, need to come before the city council. And just kind of quickly, what I'm hearing tonight is that I also too agree with what Fran said, and we need to really get back to basics. I understand that it's wonderful, to go to a conference and you meet with other people, you get really energized, you come back and you almost become manic with all these ideas. But I think we need to keep in focus that we are only a town of 2,000 people, a little more. We have a finite amount of area for what is considered our downtown district. We have a specific character. Change is inevitable, yes, Darlene, but the bottom line is our calling card is our mission, our state park, and our historic 3rd Street. And anyone that's lived here or grew up here knows that. And I feel that change is good, but we have what we have, and we need to revive that. And I think getting back to basics is, I envision that this group, when I learned about it, like when I heard businesses were leaving, I thought perhaps you would reach out and do some more outreach and start with, why are people leaving? What are the obstacles that you're facing? Is it your rents are too high? Did your landlord jack up your rent? Is it, your plumbing's not working in your old historic building? What is the really day-to-day operational problem that you're having? And not just let people, flee. I heard Fran and Sean's story, and unfortunately, I put the responsibility of any structural maintenances and fixes on the building owner, not on the renter. That's just what I see downtown, the blight. And I spoke to that last night at the city council meeting, that we have been a little soft with our business owners. Yes, we should engage them. I mean, property, brick and mortar. And I'm not just singling any one person out. I mean, the whole street. It's their responsibility to take care of their home, their place. Just like you have a home, you take care of that. The people that rent the space, they're responsible for their business plan. And I can tell you that a lot of people already use social media. So I find that a little amusing, not to be snarky or sarcastic, but most people that are on 3rd Street, I can find them on Instagram, Facebook, so there are people that already know this stuff. So I feel like it's great to have these ideas come back, energize to the point of even including talking about a sphere of influence, which I don't agree is in your purview. You are about advisory, business, economic development, not real estate development. I understand you can tie that into it, but let's remember the basics here. We have blighted buildings downtown. We have empty storefronts. We have solid businesses that left To lose a local brewery, I keep saying this again, and I'll keep saying it again, is catastrophic. So I hope that you guys can either regroup, start with the basics, look at what's happened before your very eyes, talk to the city council, get on the same page, and let's get San Juan back to where it's the, you know, it's the gem of the county, because it really is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Helena's hands raised. Nope, no, it's not. Any other further comments, questions?
Before we, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I got kicked off. I apologize.
Oh, so do you want to speak, Helena?
I do. I just want to
Okay.
know from, you know, the time, because the time is 7:36, what it is that you're seeing vision-wise, what we're trying to accomplish tonight. Since we're, as Ms. Lopez said, we can't make a decision tonight because the things that we're talking about is going to go back to the city council. So what is our objective for tonight so that we stay on track and that, you know, we can kind of move this along a little bit. Madam Chair.
I'm gonna let Brian speak to that because it's a whole long agenda.
Yeah, so just, I think just to cut to the chase, if the committee wants to, at your next meeting, have a staff report that outlines, you know, what we're talking about here, just like we've always done. You give staff your thoughts, your ideas about how you want to see things move forward. We come back to you with something that's structured and formal that can be presented to city council. And I think that might be the appropriate process here. I kind of get the idea. And so if that's the direction of the committee to go this way, then that's a pretty simple direction to staff. There are consequences. You know, Darlene last night with respect to the Main Street program talked about the institutional knowledge that's gained by committee members attending trainings. So what, you know, I think that opportunity needs to be made available still so that our knowledge about economic development isn't just frittered away, and that we keep progressing, you know, as a community. Just really essential. That's the beauty of this committee, actually. And I know we've been criticized perhaps for not doing anything for, you know, we've been in existence, but that's really not true. So anyway.
Thank you, Kim.
Well, there's been a lot said that I agree with and some that I don't agree with. I think that it's important for us to take care of the basics. We gotta, one of the things when we started our business, and this is our 2-year anniversary this week for Bliss Blends, and it's been Christina's hard work that's made it happen. But one of the things that is important that we take care of these basics. There's a checklist that lets a new business owner know what to do and know what to expect in fees. We said that we got caught in, you know, in a mess, and it cost us a lot more money to become a business. And it was just, you know, we acted like a pit bull and we made it happen. But it's also important for us to, while we take care of the basics, and some of them that have been here for years that need to be repaired or updated, we got to have a vision. You can't move forward anywhere without a vision. It doesn't matter how many people live in the town. We get to pick. We're unique. It's the same approach we did with recreation. It's an opportunity for us to develop our city the way we want to. And while we all don't agree on everything or how to make that happen, that's really, we all have what we think is in the best interest of San Juan Bautista. So I think we got to have a vision. And I think that's one thing this group has done. We have a vision. We have a mission. We have had success in things, regardless of some opinions. There's been more success than just getting a recreation person part-time. So if we don't have a vision, there's a lot of people here and a lot of energy right now. We've got to, I agree, define what everybody's doing so that we're not butting heads, so that there's not, you know, petty little stuff going on. We need to know that if we are in the best interest of San Juan Bautista, that we need to act like an adults, quit trying to undercut each other, and develop us to the point that we need to be developed. It doesn't matter that we're only 2,086 people. It just doesn't matter. We have people with kids. Kids need activities. Adults need to be healthy. They need to have wellness programs. We can help bring that vision to the council. Where I think that we get stuck, and I bumped into this because I did a little more than advisory stuff to make recreation happen. And I got my hand slapped. But it happened. So at some point we can dream and we can vision and we can take it to city council, but unless they give us an actionable way to succeed, then it's all just a bunch of wasted time. And we all are busy people. So we haven't really talked about, okay, we have a plan. It did work with recreation. This has happened before with recreation. It wasn't just this push. There was a couple of pushes. The snowball over years kind of gained. And so we're starting something and we get to pick how that looks. We get to pick. Not everybody gets to do that. It's a huge opportunity. So I think we need a vision. I think new things are okay. I think you don't have to have lived here for 30 years to be able to make a nice impact on the community, because there's people that have energy that want to contribute to this community. So we got to find an actionable way that we can also help, because we don't have the resources in this small city. So you need people, you need the citizens, like in the 70s when everybody stepped up to volunteer. Now it's a little bit more, it's tricky with volunteers and liability and things. It's a different day, you know, but it's the same thing. We need an actionable way to do that. So maybe if the city council approves an idea, I don't know what it is, whatever idea, then the next step is to form a volunteer group, a volunteer task force to make that item happen. But I think we do need an umbrella, a bigger organization umbrella. And I think everybody else needs to fall under it. And we need to collaborate with the city, with recreation, with other task forces, whatever we decide them to be. It doesn't mean that we're going to accomplish all of our dreams. We all have had dreams in our life. If you don't have a vision, you don't get anywhere. That's all.
Thank you. Rhonda?
Hi, Rhonda from EDCAC. So I think this is my 4th or 5th time coming, sitting in the audience. And I feel like you guys are still talking about reorganization. You guys got to figure it out. What direction are you going in? Because last night I sat in the city council meeting until 12:02 p.m. and a.m. and I thought I heard them say that when the Main Street America conversation was going on, is that why hasn't action been taken? Well, I thought you guys were an action group. Okay, then did they misspeak last night? Because I heard 2 or 3 of the city council members say, I thought action was being taken when we approved or whatever they were talking about.
No, we researched, found out the information. As Councilwoman Lopez said, we are an advisory group. That's in our title. So
okay, so I would advise
actionable is not our job. We want to advise.
So I would advise going back to city council and asking them to be able to take action on things, because otherwise, what are you doing? You're just advising. And you said that there's a vision and a mission. I've never heard, I've been here 20 years. I've never heard a vision and a mission from the EDC or the city hall or
Okay.
city. Whatever.
I can make sure that you get that.
Okay. The other thing is you guys talk about this group and community. I've never been here with more than 2 people in the audience. Where's your community?
I met him at our recreation engagement.
How many? We have a lot of people in this town. Yeah, I mean, you need a whole lot more to accomplish the things you want to accomplish on this list.
The people that were interested had that opportunity to come for that targeted program. Other people like Mary Edges Senior, she has a whole targeted program going. She has created an actionable thing as a volunteer. So I just don't think we have clearly outlined that path of what happens after we advise. I
I
agree
think,
with you.
yeah, and I think it's important to get the city members here to see what you guys are doing or not doing. Because if you're not following through and doing things and taking action or advising, whatever, I think you just need to dismember, because like I said, I've been here, this is probably my 5th meeting. And we're still talking, you guys are still talking about reorganizing. What direction are you going in? Things should be getting done. It's been 5 months. Things should be getting done.
Did you read our annual report?
I don't
Because
have
I'm-
access to annual reports. I don't.
There's a lot of actionable items, advisory actions that have happened in this group, and there's been some suggestions tonight that there hasn't been action with the other 2 committees, but there has been. There's been some scrambling. It's a new committee, been in government a long time. It takes a little bit to get volunteer groups going. I've been the staff
Oh, I
liaison
know, I'm
to
part of
groups.
one.
It takes a while, you
Part of
know,
a
and
successful
so
one.
I think that some really good things have happened. Have we attained all of our goals? No, we haven't, but we need some more clear direction, I think. I
That
think
makes
you're
sense.
right. I
That
think,
makes
you know,
sense,
for me, I have the ability to physically go out and make things happen. I have a skill set in a certain area that I can make things happen. So it's hard for me not to just do it because I know the city doesn't have resources. And so somehow we have to figure that out. You know, we can have all the advisory stuff going that we do, but until we figure out how to make it actionable, we haven't done that yet. We haven't done that.
So why don't you just go to city council and ask for it to be
Well, I think
an
that's
action
what
item,
I
so
think-
that the next week it can be acted on. And the second week, maybe it can something be done. And the third week, it could be.
It's a reorganization. That's why we're having this discussion, because we are called an advisory committee that was voted on by city council. We were appointed that way. We went through a process,
So,
and that's what it is. But I don't think I think we all went into it with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement to make some positive things happen. And then you get to a point where, oh, how do we make it happen? I'll talk recreation because that's what I do. We don't have a recreation person, you know, so then those conversations, how do we do that? How do we make it sustainable so that the city doesn't become a burden to the city down the road? We're a little city, so we need actionable people. We need volunteers that can do things and can do it, you know, in a way now where we have to check volunteers. We have to go through processes for volunteers that we didn't in the 70s, but we need to, and that's one thing Caitlin is charged with, is creating a volunteer department right away, an official. We got to do it right, or we're going to put the city in liability.
okay, so then my last comment is, if you knew that should have taken place, I think the action should have been taken with city council 5 months ago and brought it to their attention, so that right now you guys could be doing some checking off some things on her list or whatever might be. So,
Yeah, I think that, thank you, Rhonda. The one thing that I really hate is we're always like, well, they're not advising us. We're always blaming the city or blaming city council. But the reality is we are the advisory group, and I don't think that we did a good job with our list of advisory items. So, yes, thank you. So, and that's where we're at. Is again, I go back to, and I know everybody's gonna hate me saying this because I'm gonna say it again, but on November 10th, they're gonna announce 3 businesses that are the best of San Benito County that are no longer in San Juan Bautista, and we failed them. That is our responsibility, you know. And you know, we sit here and we're like, I feel like we're justifying, no, we did do our job, and we did. So the first thing that as a volunteer you're taking on a task is to be honest with yourself, is that we all could have done a much better job, and we shouldn't blame anyone but ourselves with where we're at today. And until we can get to that point, we're not blaming other people, and we're looking at ourselves and think we can do better, we're never going to get anywhere.
Thank you, Helena, and then we need to move on.
I don't agree with you, Fran. With regards to the businesses outside of yours that I know about, I don't even know what other businesses have closed because they weren't on our radar. And once again, I think what we have to really hone in on is that we're just advisory. We've been advisory from the beginning. I got my wrist slapped for doing stuff that was not supposed to be done because we're just advisory. And we're now, Rhonda, we're just getting to a point to where when we submitted, and Fran, this goes back to you again, we submitted actionable items, okay? So I don't know what your group did, but our group did submit actionable items, and
Can
we haven't
please
acted
stop
upon it.
this? I'm sorry, but this is not productive. at
It's
all.
not, but she should be able to respond. Fran got to say her piece and she needs to be able to disagree.
Okay, that's fine, but this is going on and on and on.
Well, you allowed Fran to go on and on and on, and you didn't stop
Absolutely
it.
ridiculous.
You did
It's
not stop it.
ridiculous.
You did not stop it. You allowed her to say it. She said it more than once, and it needs to be known that people are working. We all are working, and we can't take responsibilities for other businesses when that's not in our preview. If they're not in our radar, and that we're dealing with that kind of particular subject matter, there's no responsibility to be taken. It's every individual's business responsibility to figure out their plan for themselves, and the city does not have a process in play. We haven't put a process in place, despite the fact that we want one, but that goes back to the city council and what is allowable. So I agree that we need to take this back to city council so that we can create actionable items that we can actually work on through task force initiatives, and we can get volunteer support so we can work through the process.
Okay, then
Because
let's
right
do
now,
that.
our arms are
Let's do
tied.
that. We're just wasting a whole lot of time and energy.
Okay, well, let's do it. Let's vote on it then.
Yes.
Patricia,
you wanna make a comment?
Yes, yes. I have sat here very patiently. And I have listened to everybody. Everybody has good points. Some points are off the wall, as far as I'm concerned. But the level of disrespect is off the wall. If one person is allowed to speak, you let the other person respond to that. I know your head here, but there's a level. I am so. But only in one situation each time. I've been here all night. Only when one person started speaking. And that has to stop. I'm talking. Yeah, I know. But the level of disrespect that has been not in just this meeting, but other meetings, cutting different people off, that has to stop. We need to be adults and listen. And actually, if we listen, we might hear.
Rhonda?
Rhonda, again. I'm just a little confused because I thought when we speak once. If we're in chambers or Zoom, and we have 3 minutes. So I thought my 3 minutes was done, other than this, but people keep coming on and speaking again and again and again. So I'm a little confused.
Me too, and I'm just trying to move things along because I feel like we're just rehashing things. And I didn't mean to cut Helena off. I'm just saying that I'm trying to move things along. I don't want to be here till midnight. Sorry, guys.
Well, we're a board. And so I noticed that with City Hall, with the council, and also with the Historic Resources Board and the Planning Commission, when they're on the board, they get to speak as long as they want. Helena is part of our board.
I understand that, but it's been going on and I feel like we're.
Yeah, but you're constantly picking on one person.
I am not. That's absolutely not true.
I believe it
Absolutely
is.
not.
I believe it is. Thank you, though, but I believe it is. Because every time I said something, despite the fact that Fran said something even before me, you kept cutting me off. And to me, that's very disrespectful. You never cut her off. And she was saying the exact same thing 3 times. And she never got cut off. I did.
Thanks.
And
for
then you
your
take an
time.
attitude.
Thank
Then you
you.
take an attitude. And that's not okay. You're supposed to be the head of this organization right now as the chair. You have to show that you can be the chair and not take attitude when other people talk.
There is no next step without a quorum.
It's 7:55 and we're adjourning the EDCAC meeting. Thank you. Okay. Oh, she's. No, we're done. She left. We lost her chair, so now we're done.